today we're talking about a brand new palette from ColourPop. This is the Stone Cold Fox palette. I'm gonna put all of the official information about the launch date and the price and all that as soon as it's confirmed. I'll put that down in the description box for you. Because they have released other 30 pan palettes, it's a pretty safe bet that this will also be priced at $34. Stone Cold Fox is like the cool toned sister to Bare Necessities. These are both neutral palettes. There are some similar overlapping shades, and I'm gonna do a full comparison between these two palettes. I think the biggest question about this Stone Cold Fox palette is how similar or different is it going to be to the Bare Necessities palette. These two palettes are the exact same shape and size, same kind of textured cardboard packaging. Like the other palettes this size, this does have a magnetic closure, and there is not a mirror inside here. All the shade names are pictured on the back, and they're also printed inside next to the pans. So let's take a close-up look inside this palette. The layout is a little bit different in this palette versus the Bare Necessities, where the color stories were laid out in rows horizontally. In Stone Cold Fox, the color stories are in columns vertically. We do have a variety of shades and finishes in here. We're getting these grays and silvers, some very neutral browns, and also some mauvey pinky shades. Hopefully you can see what I mean about the color story layout, and here they're grouped in rows. This is the Bare Necessities palette. In the Stone Cold Fox palette, we have 17 true matte shades, so more than half of this palette are true mattes. There are a few mattes with glitter as well. Not really my favorite finish. I know a lot of you guys don't particularly love those either. So there are 4 mattes with glitter in here. Not a ton, but definitely worth mentioning. The remaining 9 shades are true metallic shimmers. So there are no super shocks, no pressed glitters in this Stone Cold Fox palette. I want to go ahead and show you the swatches of this palette on its own first before we get to the comparisons. So I will be showing you both finger and brush swatches. I decided to swatch them in their little color story columns instead of like I usually do in rows. I just think that makes the most sense, and frankly it just looks the nicest. I will be swatching all of the shadows on the inside of my arm with no primer down first, just the shadows straight onto my skin. The finger swatches will be pictured on top, and then each brush swatch will be pictured directly below. As always for my brush swatches, I'll be using my e.l.f. flat eyeshadow brush, and I'll clean the brush off in between each shade using my Veramona color switch. That way there's no shadow transfer between swatches. So let's take a look at the swatches of the Stone Cold Fox palette first, and then we'll get into some palette comparisons. Taking a look at the swatches of the first 2 columns here, I think it's pretty apparent that the finger swatches and the brush swatches of these 10 shades look really similar. We've got nice, smooth, even coverage across the board. I think this is my favorite section of this palette. Now moving on to the center section, the big thing I want to point out here is that matte black shade called Rock Bottom. It did not swatch well with the finger at all, but the dry brush swatch is absolutely gorgeous and looks completely different. So I don't really know why, but the brush really picked that one up a lot better. And then for the last round of swatches, we're back to a really consistent performance between finger and brush swatches. These are all done with a dry brush, and I just think that mattes and shimmers alike perform really well with both applications. The first comparison I want to do is with the Bare Necessities palette. I think these two are going to draw a lot of comparison, and there are some shades that are pretty similar, but across the board, I think you'll find that Stone Cold Fox is more neutral to cool toned, where Bare Necessities is more neutral warm toned. So let's take a look at all 30 shades from Stone Cold Fox and Bare Necessities first, and then we'll get into some other cool toned ColourPop palettes. Here is a really in-depth comparison of Stone Cold Fox and Bare Necessities. I went through and combed over these palettes and tried to find the most similar shades and compare them, I can tell you that this first round of swatches here is really the most similar section from the two palettes. The swatches on top are from Stone Cold Fox, and then the swatches below are from Bare Necessities. As you'll see, the lower swatches are going to be continually getting warmer and warmer, but it's undeniable there's a decent amount of overlap between these two palettes, and I really think Stone Cold Fox is going to be perfect for somebody out there who just did not want these warm, really orange, coppery, red-toned shades that Bare Necessities had to offer. So I do think there's a perfect person out there for this palette, but you may not necessarily even need both of these unless you're really a working makeup artist. Then having both may round out your kit. Next up is one of their very recent launches, the That's Taupe palette. And I just started taking a selection of shades from Stone Cold Fox to best match these smaller palettes, since it doesn't really make sense to compare 30 shades to 9 shades when you really can get the gist here. These are pretty darn similar, pretty much dupes. Then we're going to take a look at the Making Mauves palette. Again, I just chose a selection of shades from the Stone Cold Fox palette, and you can see again, we can pretty much get the same or very, very similar shades. These are a little bit less dupes than the That's Taupe palette. Not by much though, still pretty darn close. Now we're going to look at the Flutterby palette. I only swatched 11 of the 12 Flutterby shades because this one contains a pressed glitter and there's no comparable shade. There aren't any glitters in Stone Cold Fox, and I just really despise glitters, and swatching them always messes up my other swatches. It kind of hurts my arm, so I'm sorry, I just skipped the glitter. Now the last comparison is the Fame palette. This is a discontinued palette, and it is a Cool Tone lover's favorite for a very long time. So if you missed out on Fame, or if you are using up your shades in your Fame palette, it looks like you're really going to be able to get some super similar shades, similar looks from this Stone Cold Fox palette. I think it's pretty apparent from the comparison swatches that this Stone Cold Fox palette does have a lot of similar shades to That's Taupe, Making Mauves, Fame, and Flutterby. If you have those other palettes, then this probably isn't super necessary. I do think this is a great option for a makeup artist kit. Between this and Bare Necessities, you would have every single neutral, nudie tone shadow that you would ever need. So I do see this being extremely useful for makeup artists. And I know there are a lot of cool tone lovers out there that are just over the warm orangey browns. So I can see a lot of non-makeup artists being really excited about this too. Cool tones have been underused and underrated for a really long time, and I think they're having a moment right now. Frankly, cool tones are very flattering on a lot of different skin tones. They work well for a lot of different styles, and while it's not my personal taste, I do think this is a great palette. Quality-wise, it's performed really well for me. The only shadow that I struggled with was the matte black shade called Rock Bottom. That one wasn't quite as soft and opaque as the other mattes in this palette. But other than that one, across the board, this has been a really high performing palette for me formula-wise. Both mattes and shimmers are just really nice, really easy to work with. So while this isn't my personal style, I do think this is a great palette, and I can see a lot of people being really excited about this one. Just based on my own preferences, I still like the Bare Necessities palette a little bit more. I just prefer warm tones on myself. I do think this is a palette a lot of people have been waiting for. So if you are one of those people, I'm very excited for you. I'm glad that you're getting a lot of neutral and cool toned options. I'll try to do some swatch comparisons on my Instagram. So if you're not already following me, make sure you go check out Makeup.Just.For.Fun on Instagram. I'll be taking requests and I'll compare this to a bunch of other palettes. I don't have the Natasha Denona one, the what is it called? Glam. I don't have that one, but I think Sultry would be a good comparison. Maybe Urban Decay's Naked 3. I think those would all be good comparisons, and I'm sure you will think of a whole bunch more that I haven't thought of to compare. So make sure you keep an eye over on my Instagram, and I'll try to do some more swatch comparisons with this one soon. And don't worry if you miss my comparison day, I always save them on my highlights so you can go back and reference them whenever you like. Now's the time when I want to hear what you think about this palette. Are you interested in this? Is this the cool tone palette you've been waiting for? Are you just happy with your bare necessities like I am? I always love to hear what you think about things too, so make sure you leave all your thoughts down in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye! Huh? I'm fine. My lip gloss is called Stone, and this is Stone Cold Fox. It's like, they match, get it? I'm easily amused. They're sisters, not twins. I don't. No one knows at this point. No one knows what's going on. It's fine. You know, do you know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Compare this to the... Oh boy, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Do you ever feel that way? You ever feel like you're forgetting something? Maybe it's because I'm wearing these cool tones. It's thrown off my mojo. I'm wearing this sweater in like every cool tone eye look video that I do now. I wore this with another cool tone look a couple weeks ago. I got it from ThredUp. It's probably not available anymore, but that's where I got it from ThredUp. Okay, I think that's it. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but if I did, then I will put more information in the description box. I'm sorry if I forgot it. Okay. Thanks for watching. I love your face. I hope that you're having a good day. And if you're not, then I will send you a virtual hug. Bring it in. Okay. Bye.